Well, thanks for staying with us on the program. Off the back of our last conversation, the concluding bit right there on your opinion on the development commissions, as President Bola Tinubu has signed bills for the development of the North Central Development Commission. The Southeast is getting his, it's Northwest. It almost feels as though every region is about to get a development commission. Now, to discuss the North Central Development Commission in terms of boosting growth and infrastructure, I'm joined by a seasoned journalist and public affairs analyst, Mr. Ibrahim Modibbo. Mr. Ibrahim Modibbo is a journalist and scholar and a commentator on national issues. A former national director of publicity under the All People's Party APP and All Nigerian People's Party, a former vice presidential candidate of Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria in 2019's general election. Mr. Ibrahim Modibbo holds a BA Honours postgraduate diploma in journalism, is a master in media arts, and a PhD in development commission. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm pleased to be here. This is my first time of coming to this axis, and I'm very happy to see the development in this place. It's
an honor to have you in the studio.
It's heartwarming.
Now let's talk about the North Central. It's from a perspective of a region that is very central to Nigeria's development post-military rule.
Yeah.
It almost houses, beyond housing the Federal Capital Territory, it houses key states when it comes to agricultural potentials in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Many continue revisiting the conversation on how much we need to go back to agriculture. What does a development commission do for a region as blessed as the North Central region?
You see, in the wisdom of the present administration, especially in the patriotic and nationalistic intervention in the process of good governance, to a senator and a member of House of Reps, Senator Abamoro and Honorable Dr. Jerry, House of Reps, they proposed a bill for the establishment of the North Central Development Commission. I think it is highly welcome development. I'm not from the North Central, I'm from the Northeast. But looking at the holistic approach to national development, the establishment of North Central Development Commission is a welcome idea. Fundamentally, if you look at the need for Nigeria, the need for inclusivity, and the need to tap the resources from this axis, of which it seems like the food basket of this country, you'll agree with me that the North Central, which comprises Benue, Plateau, Kwara, Niger, FCT, and one other, I think, also, it's central to development of this country, and it's bringing it closer to the people. If you look at the issue of development commission, what is development commission all about? Development commission seems to suggest that in the process of building inclusivity, as I've earlier stated, the government thought in its own wisdom to create an agency as a bridge gap measure, so as to look at the issues that confront it in terms of infrastructural development, in terms of economic prosperity, in terms of social well-being, in terms of articulation of youth, in terms of looking at the general, developmental well-being of a region. And if you look at Nigeria, of all the 6 zones, they've all have commissions. The South is there, the North Central, the Southeast, the Northeast, the Northwest, Southwest. So why can't we have the North Central? Why should the North Central not be brought into the fore so that as to accommodate it within the parameters of the administrative structure of governance, especially when it looks at the issue of development? Central to this, if you look at the federal government, thought it wise in developing this or in establishment of these commissions, because if you look at now, first and foremost, we need to look at the development structure, especially provision of social infrastructure. Almost everywhere in Nigeria today, you can agree with me that the road networks are very bad. No houses, no bridges, Nothing. People have been complaining left, right, and center, except for the contract was given between Calabar, Lagos axis. There's been nothing fundamental in terms of articulate government policies towards road construction. Now, this is a bridge gap measure, as I've stated. It will help in trying to bring government closer to the people, to see that government is working. And I think it's a very welcome idea. Any government that is not interested in the peace, tranquility, and developmental structure of the people does not worth the salt. Now, the North Central, as I've stated, if you look at in terms of agriculture, Benue provides rice, it provides cassava, it provides yams, and other stable foods like cashew and mangoes and what have you. So this is an area that has the potential of getting closer to the governance and the people by way of creating industries, bringing food to the table of Nigeria if it is properly articulated. If also, I'm also using if, because the Nigerian factor might come into play. If it does, then that's where the problem will lie. But if it doesn't, then then we'll see to the progress and prosperity of the development commissions. For example, the South-South Development Commission, the North-East Development Commission, as I've seen, which were established earlier than now, it has been able to look at, dispassionately from a wider perspective, the issue of developmental structure. If you look at the South-South, it tried to look at the ecological problems, it looks at the environmental degradation, the issue of the ecosystem and what have you. It has been able to do a lot. And now, the North-East Development Commission, ravaged by the issues of this Boko Haram and what have you, it has been able to bring governance closer to the people. It has provided road networks, it has provided vehicles for security agencies, it has also helped in trying to propel development in terms of housing architecture, and in terms of also aggregating the youth, bringing them closer to the government, looking at their prospects, and also trying to give them, maybe there are areas that they are even establishing schools, and also encouraging in terms of giving scholarship to indigenous students and what have you. So this is central. And the North-East Development Commission is of great importance. It has come at a very right time, no time better than now, for bringing in other Nigerians who felt marginalized. Because if the whole of the country will have development commissions, which has been central to developments, apart from the government at the center putting in one or two things, that development commission, which according to the budget currently, this 2025 budget, it is supposed to have about 2.5 trillion naira. It's about 2.495 or 493, thereabout. So let's approximate it, 2.5 trillion. It is a monumental amount that should be able to translate into developmental structures, of these regions. But let me stop here. Let me get some questions so that
I like how robustly you've captured the mandates of the North Central Development Commission and the ambitions set before it in terms of bettering the lives of its people.
Yeah.
Now, one of the issues plaguing the North Central region is that of insecurity. It's been tied a lot to issues of cattle rustling in Plateau, farmer-header clashes in Benue, some human-made disasters in Niger recently we saw with the tanker explosion and whatnot. In terms of speaking to peace in the region, are there any expectations you have of the Development Commission on agendas to foster peace and inclusivity?
Yes. If you look at part of the agenda or part of the fundamentals that is encompassing in the current bill or the agencies, part of the programs and prospects of the agencies includes settling boundary disputes, providing social infrastructure, and also looking at the security situation. As I've told you, if you look at the North-East Development Commission, it did a lot in terms of articulating government policies and also in terms of helping in displaced persons, because it is providing accommodation, rebuilding of schools, and also settling displaced persons, within the zone. Now, in the North Central, which is very fundamental, the issue of other farmer clashes, that is a recurrent decimal. It will come in handy if we have people of character and distinction that will be able to articulate the government policies and also to try to bring in peace and tranquility without taking sides or without being sentimental. You see, if there is a neutral person or neutral persons that will be able to engage all the sides, bring in the religious people, bring in people of character, bring in civil society groups, put them, make a team that will go and meet the different groups, meet the herders, meet the farmers. You see, both the herders and farmers are either Muslim or Christians or animists. Bring all of them, especially the malams and the clerics and whatever. Let them go and meet these people. Look, there's need for us to have peace and tranquility, because in any society that does not have peace, there wouldn't be any progress and prosperity within the confines of the society. Therefore, the need for peace cannot be overemphasized. And I think what it needs to do is also to engage the youths, because most of these crises that you see, it's not old men like us, it's youths. Youth, they are the most vibrant and they are the most energetic segment of the society. They are the ones that go into all these houses, fighting and what have you. So there's a need for the Development Commission to articulate its own point of view, to look at dispassionately at the issues of farmer classes, because I can tell you, with all with no fear of contradiction, whatsoever, that the North Central is central to the provision of food in the Nigerian nation. If you look at it, produces a lot of food. It also has the wherewithal to transform Nigeria in terms of solid mineral appreciation. If you look at most of the states, Nasarawa, go to Kogi, all this, they are real solid mineral areas, And if you look at individually, if you look at Benue, as I've stated earlier, there is agriculture, which is of great paramount of importance. If you look at Plateau, it has tourism potentials. It also produces food, especially potatoes and what have you, which could even be exported. If you look at Kwara, textile processing, and then also food. If you look at Kogi, it has the potential of having solid minerals mining, limestone, gemstone, and what have you.
Yeah, more like Kogi and Benue have that limestone capability.
Yes, and
Nasarawa.
Yes.
But let's also look at some of the moribund factories that were benefiting from this deposit. Back in Benue, there was the Ashaka Cement. It somewhat went under coming into the early 90s, the millenniums.
Yes.
This deposit is still there, largely untapped. When you go to Plateau, there's the case of the steel rolling mills, which is in a somewhat moribund state. Is it going to be domiciled as part of the functions of the commission to see how it can engender industrialization again?
Yes. You see, by the provisions of the bill, the commission's headquarters is supposed to be in Lafia, which is central, encompassing, as I've stated, Nasarawa, Kwara, FCT, and what have you. Now, they have to think outside the box. The commission should have people that are intelligent, people that are honest, sincere, because for long, Nigeria has been suffering from administrative neglect, crumbling social infrastructure, squalor, poverty, unemployment rates, and if you look at some other social malaise, which to a large extent leaves us paradoxically poor in the midst of plenty. So how do we transform, how do we tap these potentials for the greater good of this country? Fundamentally, as I've stated, for us to have any economic transformation, we must have issues of this mining, tapping this mining, and then bringing in, companies. Because companies, if you look at, apart from giving Nigeria the economic wherewithal, it also employs the youths, which will bring peace and prosperity. And also, in terms of aggregating the economic well-being of the country, it is of great importance to our economy. Under the present circumstances, we are only, dependent. We are a dependent nation, probably on maybe petrol and what have you, which is not supposed to be the case. What we have, especially in North Central, in terms of solid mineral, I can tell you, Nasarawa alone, if properly tapped with all the potential it has, believe me, it can bring in more revenue than even oil in Nigeria. Because all this tantalite and all this, there are a lot of mineral potentials that God has blessed Nasarawa State or the North Central. There is nowhere in North Central that you cannot find one solid mineral or the other, which, if properly tapped, it could lead to economic prosperity of this country. And look at the issue you brought about this Benue cement and whatever. There is no political will. Lack of political will, and also lack of, I think, the issue of nationalism and the feeling of, well, anything government is nobody's property. If there had been private government partnership or what have you, I am sure if it is given, if we've been able to get, investors, proper investors, they could be able to bring it up. There could be a viability. And I think like the Benue cement something, I think Dangote is still handling that. I don't know if he's still doing that. But it is a very, very wonderful area that could be able to propel the economic prosperity of this country. And looking at other, other states within the region, like Niger. The Development Commission should be able to propel hydro, electricity, and also even solar. Apart from agriculture, Niger State alone, in terms of landmass, it can compete favorably with about 4 or 5 countries or more in sub-Saharan Africa. If that is properly cultivated, mechanized agriculture.
How do you rate the work of the Niger State Governor, Umaru Bago? He has been dubbed the agricultural governor of Nigeria. We've seen some incentivization of farmers, purchase of certain mechanized equipment to expand it. How would you rate him in his first term as governor?
You see, in trying to build bridges, we have to build them across even streams and rivers. And that is exactly what Bago is doing. Bago, I've never met him. I don't even know him. But honestly and sincerely has been able to capture my heart in terms of his capacity, intellectual capacity to think about farming in Niger State. You see, he is not only a governor that is basing his programs of action just as a newspaper tiger or something on a newspaper. No. He goes beyond that to show that he is a man of principles and also one that is going into the system to make sure that, look, things work. Niger State, as I've stated, the landmass can only be imagined because in sub-Saharan Africa, very few countries are even more than Niger State in terms of landmass and in terms of even the agricultural potentials and also the fertility of the land. Now look at the tractors he has been able to buy. Look at farm inputs, incentives in terms of agricultural inputs and what have you. He has been able to do well. If Niger will be able to go into mechanized farming as the governor is trying to do now, I can tell you all the issues of these bandits. Bandits find solace under all these uncultivated or lands that have not been occupied. So what they do now, instead of getting into meaningful productivity, the only thing they do is to go and take people, hostages, kidnap people and go into the bushes. So if the bushes are cultivated, if we have industrial revolution or agricultural revolution in the state, I can tell you Niger has the capacity not only to feed Nigeria but sub-Saharan Africa. So I think he's on the right track of change. I think he's doing very well, and I very much appreciate what he's doing because I've been reading everything about him and his policies, government policies in terms of agricultural development of the state. However, a state like Kwara, during the Saraki era, he has been able to bring in investors from abroad to come into rice farming. What has happened to that? Is it still functional? Kwara, God has blessed it magnanimously with beautiful weather, fantastic rains, and also flora and fauna that could only be rivaled by nature itself. But I don't know what is happening. I think the two governments of Kwara, the governments of most governments, North Central, especially Benue, Kwara, Niger, all of them should be able to feed this country. And even we don't need to be hungry because the way it is today, Nigerians are hungry and are angry.
I believe they say everything rests and falls on the shoulder of leadership. But let's talk about the people of the North Central.
Yeah.
When you look at it, there's been a lot of accusations as it concerns some of the men in the North Central, particularly in states like Plateau. People tend to say that the women are more industrious. Most of the men like to be found in drinking huts and not as industrious as their women. It's been an assertion that has been carried on over the years. It's also associated with the level of poverty and somewhat a decline in the level of education. We have some of the best brains and minds, much like you mentioned, Bukola Saraki, that have come from this region, the likes of the David Marks and what have you. But the challenge often is the dangers of this single story told about the men and youths of this region. What would be the charge under this commission? More like a reorientation or a social reawakening for the people of this region in line of this narrative that's been told about them?
Yes, you see, I don't want to single out Plateau, for inactivity maybe of the men. It could be due to cultural nuances. It could be, but I don't think, honestly, I don't think that Plateau youth are lazy. I think they're very industrious, only that they need cultural orientation. And also they need to come out of the cultural nuances or that kind of feeling that it's only the women that should go to work. No. The men. If you look at most of the crises that we see in Plateau, who are engaged in it? Is it not the men? Have you seen any woman carrying dagger, gun and this thing? So if they could do that, why can't they go into farming or productive ventures? So I think there's this stereotyping that only the women work, but I think honestly, I know Plateau is abundantly blessed with intellectual people, the intellectual capacity, and also people that are very industrious, people that will be able to, go to the farms, and people that will be able, that are educationally competent to handle most of the issues when it comes to the issue of this North Central Development Commission. I want to see a situation where there is that vibrant engagement of youth in terms of articulation of their mindset, especially toward the orientation of productivity. And one of the fundamentals of the Development Commission, which is embodied in its principles or programs of action, is youth empowerment. The Development Commission is also supposed to assist farmers with farm inputs, give them loans, and also help in trying to provide the agricultural facilities to them. So I think with inclusivity of the youth, especially within the confines of the Development Commission, which is also supposed to help in building houses for people, especially those displaced by way of this crisis, farmers herders clash or what have you, that's been almost by monthly or this in claiming lives, burning down property and looting. It's
specifically even in Plateau. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah,
we had the Governor, His Excellency Barrister Caleb Mutfwang, bemoan the fact that it may seem as though fifth elements within the government are the one perpetrating it. Currently, for 2 Christmases in a row now, the likes of Mangu local government, Bokos and Langtan have had these issues of killings. Do you think that there will be some way that the commission can prioritize this issue of security, particularly for states like Plateau? Is it beyond what we have on ground, the efforts of the military and the police at now? Are there special interventions that Plateau may consider in ridding itself of this reoccurring insecurity?
You see, part of my thesis, when I did a master's program, I wrote on the issue of ethno-religious conflicts. And Plateau is one of my, catchment areas where I did a study. You see, it's unfortunate that this issue is becoming a recurring decimal. There is nowhere in the world where people of homogeneity, people with the same religion, people with the same culture, people speak the same language, stay together. You must have a visitor. Anywhere that you don't find somebody that is not a visitor within the confines of that area is doomed. Therefore, for peace and tranquility to rule, or for it to reign, we must have respect for each other. We must think of human lives. People are not chicken that you just come up and start killing one another. You see people that have grown up in the same area. Could you believe that at a point in time, I don't know now, with the coming of Barrister Mutuang, Caleb Mutuang, he has been doing a great job in trying to bring peace and tranquility, in terms of also trying to bring unity among the diverse ethnic groups and religious groups. He has been able to accommodate both the Muslims and the Christians together. He has been working, assiduously towards bringing peace and tranquility, and that's the way to go. But in as much as we don't tolerate each other, in as much as we feel that settling issues cannot be done until you use the barrel of the gun instead of sitting on the table to iron out some fundamentals, even if it has to do with our differences, we cannot move forward. Killings cannot solve the situation. You cannot kill to the last person. So in as much as you don't kill if you kill so people today, it can go. Like the Fulani people, I can tell you, they don't forget. If you kill one Fulani man, just don't think he has forgotten. In the next 20, 30 years, he can still come for you for revenge. So for how long are we going to continue like that? I strongly believe there's need for national orientation. There's need for youth engagement, most of these crises that you see are perpetuated, as I've stated, by youth. So if the youth are engaged in productive ventures, if they are given employment opportunities, if they have where to go, if they wake up in the morning, instead of going to the joints to drink, they have a place where they could go and work and then earn a living at the end of the month. Then the issue of all these things will not come up. It's only a youth that is idle, because they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And therefore, some of these people, because of politics, based on my study, if you look at the issue of politics, the issue of economy, the issue of land, the issue of social infrastructure, and fundamentally, especially during this time of politics now, people try to settle, or people try to use politics based on, because politics, from all indication, seems to suggest empowerment. Like what happened in Jos, I think 1992 or thereabout, on this issue of local government election in Jos North or so. It was a situation where some people, somebody was appointed, whether it was a Muslim or so, some people resisted, or a Christian, that kind of resistance, and it brought crisis that led to bloodshed. Please, in Nigeria under the current century, do we need that? If you ask me, I'll tell you we don't. We need peace and tranquility for us to have wherewithal for economic prosperity and functional social infrastructure. We have to look beyond the confines of this crisis and what have you.
I like when you made that statement that anywhere you find a community and there's no visitor, it's a telltale sign of something not functioning well.
Yes.
Still using Jos as a case study, it's one of the places you find an interwoven people, different cultures, different religion, having stayed together over time. But when it comes to this issue of political offices, the indigenous people of Plateau continue to feel as though such visitors who might have naturalized there haven't earned enough right to vie for political offices. When you talk Jos North, Jos South, Jos Central, these are areas where they only feel that individuals from a particular Jos North, who's an indigene, should emerge as the leader, even when there is an election that allows for visitors to contest in. I don't know if it's from the angle of youth engagement in politics, or where do they continue missing the point when they fail to understand that elections should give for such emergencies of visitors to also play their part in administrating this governance we all seek for?
You see, it is the narrowness of the mindset that has not been able to expose itself to the vagaries of accommodation, the vagaries of thinking of togetherness in terms of articulating our views towards the developmental structure of this country. For example, America couldn't have voted for Barack Obama because Barack Obama has not been an indigenous person of America, a black man. But they voted for him because of his intellectual capacity. So if Barack Obama were to come to Plateau now, they would have killed him for vying maybe to contest for governor. We have to transform beyond the sentiments of indigene settler this thing. Because look at, historically, based on the story I've had, the Hausas came even before the dawn of history, before the pre-colonial period they were there. Some of them were into mining and what have you, and they formed a very large community, especially in Jos North. I can tell you, if there is free and fair election in Jos North, there's no how a Hausa man cannot win, because the population, they have it. I cannot advise any Hausa man to go to Jos South, because there are no houses in Jos South, maybe because of the ethnic problems, to vote for him. So to try to say, you must impose because an indigene, it doesn't hold water. There are areas where you cannot say that you must. Look at Kano, for example. A lot, if not most of their governors in Kano are not even indigenous by way of their origin, especially in terms of their biological, streamlining of their ancestry. A lot of them are not from Kano. And even look at Lagos. Some are saying that, there are some people that are not even from Lagos, but they are contesting, to win position and what have you in Lagos. So the issue now is to transform beyond the sentiments of, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm so tribe, I'm this tribe. There's a need for us to sit and think together. What is good for this country? What is good for the development of the region, especially Plateau? I hammer on Plateau because it's a place of peace. People used to stay there, used to go for, tourism, because it's a tourist attraction area which could have brought a lot of
revenue
in
Niger.
In terms, because if you look at the fantastic weather in Plateau,
the landscape,
these are areas that will attract a lot of tourism or tourist attraction, which could have brought a lot of resources to the state. But unfortunately, because of all this crisis, people don't go to Plateau again. Although now, with the coming of this governor, who is becoming a symbol of unity, he has been able to, douse the tension, and also he has been able to do a lot of work on the ground, what have you, that today, Muslims, Hausas in Jos have been uphailing him, saying that, look, this man is our own. They have been praying. I've seen where in the mosque and whatever they've gone to pray for him.
Even during the bad governance process of last year, we saw it. We showed it on screens here.
Exactly.
Muslim and Christians.
Exactly. And you see somebody like Solomon Dalon, the former Minister of Youth, who is from Plateau, is one person that I see as a uniting factor. He is one person that has been able to look for peace at almost every point in time. He doesn't believe in segregation based on religious, cultural, and what have you. He has been, if you look at all these utterances, look at his interviews, look at, even during this bad governance something, you speak, he even quotes the Quran and also the Bible to support his position. So you see, somebody like that is a person that should be able to unite the people in propelling the wheel of progress of the state. And I strongly believe that if Plateau, under Mufwang, has been able to do its best, and also with the assistance of the Development Commission, I think peace will be able to come back to Plateau, and it will be a tourist attraction, and consequently, it is going to add to the economic value and also the prosperity of not only Plateau but Nigeria at large.
I really like your approach to this conversation. Whilst we're discussing the Development Commission as a whole, you've taken out time to itemize each of the 6 states, including the FCT, their potentials, their challenges, and owing to the thesis in your master's that you did with Plateau as a case study, I feel this is why you've had more examples to give from Plateau State. Yeah. But let's come back to one man who is credited as being the landmark of a father who sees it as though these regions that have cried out for marginalization should be empowered by having their own development commissions. How much of a hallmark is this in terms of President Bola Tinubu's credentials when it comes to these conversations in history, that he will be remembered as the one who signed these bills into law?
You see, I always like to rely on the philosophical sentiments of George Santayana, the famous philosopher and historian, who has severally been quoted as saying that if experience is not retained, infancy is perpetual. Those that forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Under the present circumstance, you see, we've been thinking about today. We've been thinking about Aolo, Dr. Namdi Azikiwe, Chibobafemi Aolo, Dr. Namdi
Azikiwe. Go on.
Before then, Saboka Balewa and Sardana. We always think of them with a kind of philosophical calmness and also the yearning for the past. Why? Because these people have been able to leave major landmarks as politicians, first generation politicians in this country. Awolowo built the first television station in sub-Saharan Africa. Ahmadu Bello built university, built Ahmadu Bello University, built the teleradio television Kaduna, and others. Zik in Suka also, the university and what have you. So if you look at these regions, have produced people of character and distinction, people that had the fear of God, and people that have not been blemished by, that have not fallen under the spotlight of corruption and corrupted tendencies. They've been able to leave historical landmarks when they held sway of governance. Now, maybe President Bola Tinubu, as things are going today, because today, if you look at the Nigerian situation, we're under a very precarious situation where things have not been easy. We are under no illusion as to the fact that Nigeria currently is facing a lot of economic and political hardships. Look at the devaluation of the Naira, look at the issue of oil revenue, look at the flooding, look at power, look at now even the issue of this bill on the issue of this
the 50% tariff hike.
Tariff hike. So Nigerians have been pressed to the wall. We've been told to tighten our belts, and the belts is almost caught it because there's no space again to tighten. The holes are over. So what do we do? What does President Bola Tinubu do to make sure that he's remembered after leaving office? Because whether we like it or not, he will not be president forever. One day he will leave that place. And therefore, he wants to be remembered for bringing in these commissions. Before he came, it was only the the NDDC, which was only concentrated in taking care of ecological problems, environmental pollution
in the Niger Delta.
In the Niger Delta. Now, it has spread to other areas because there are also critical issues, especially the issue of displacement by way of this Boko Haram, by way of these kidnappings, all these criminals and what have you, by way of all these gangsters, which has led to displacements, which has led to destruction of lives and property, burning down of schools and what have you. So now with the intervention as an agency that has the potentials as a stopgap measure for intervention in terms of articulating of government policies and programs, I think it's a welcome idea. It is something he will be remembered for, if not for anything, for the fact that he has been able to create this. And this development commission will help in no small measure, because if you pump in about 2.5 trillion into the regions, definitely we will see one thing or the other that will improve the welfare and well-being of the people. You see, this intervention program in terms of this development communication is supposed to even help in education, help in
curbing the number of out-of-school children.
Out-of-school children, especially North Central is also part of it, but Northwest is where the problem seriously lies. But, you know, it will help in curbing out-of-school children. It will also help in building facilities, not only to be left to third form, but also the commission will help, and it also address the issue of provision of social infrastructure. Then looking at the health sector, is going to help in also getting, you know, medical facilities and what have you, to take care of some of these small distance, and also the issue of sanitation, provision of water and potable water. All these are things that are that is supposed to fall within the confines of the development commissions, so as to assist the government at the center. Let it not be that it's only the government at the center that will come and do this and that. No, but that development commission is also part of governance, which President Bola Tinubu has been able to establish with a view to transforming the grassroots area in terms of articulation of government policy. And also, the Development Commission is supposed to have an interagency cooperation, especially Northeast, Northwest, Southeast. They are supposed to cooperate and share common experiences in terms of articulation of programs. What you are doing in your place, we sit down, let's articulate, and then let's think ahead. Let's think alike of what are we going to do, this and that. You see, although everybody has their own different problems, but there is a common thing. There is a linkage that will come up.
Now, borrowing from your words, this linkage and the common problem would find in the North Central Development Commission can be traced to the two major rivers in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nature has blessed the North Central with two of those main rivers.
Yes.
River Niger, River Benue, yeah. And even blessed it with the confluence town in Lokoja.
Yes.
But that blessing has come with some sort of cost over time. The issue of perennial flooding.
Yes.
Now, many have talked about the fact that over the years, there had been provision of funds to build a counter dam structure to accommodate the water from the Lagdo Dam. But we continue to fail in that infrastructure. How long do you think that Nigerians, or people of the North Central particularly, should give the Development Commission as a timeline as to when to expect that infrastructure to mitigate against one of the biggest problems that will be plaguing the North Central going forward?
You see, God has magnanimously blessed the North Central, giving it a confluence state in terms of Lokoja. I think that's where the confluence is. River Benue and River Niger. Now, as we've talked about Lagdo, there is need for interagency cooperation between the North Central and the Northeast. Because if you look at Lagdo, when it was created in 1982, over the Benue River, if you've gone to Yola, where I came from, if you see River Benue, then, man, it was something else. You may think it's an ocean. But when Cameroon decided to, create a dam, Lagdo, which, tamed the inflow of water, the inflow of fisheries, the inflow of agricultural potentials, and what have you. What ordinarily a government of thought would have done was to create a buffer dam. It was thought by intellectually mobile people that there is need for Nigeria to have a buffer dam around Fufore Kafin Hausa Dam, to have a Kafin Hausa or around Fufore axis, so as to tame excessive water that is coming from. Because almost everywhere, because of the nature of the dam and the volume of water, Lagdo, based on the agreements and what have you signed before that dam was created, was that they should always inform Nigerian authorities that they want to release the water. Otherwise, if that dam breaks, well, the disaster it will cause will be better imagined than experienced, because the volume of water in that distance is just monumental. So, if Nigeria would have created a buffer dam down the ladder around that Fufore axis, it would have been able to tame excess water that will be, let out by the Lagdo Dam. But unfortunately, well, if that dam had been created, it will also, form the fulcrum of irrigation facilities. It will also provide fisheries. It will, give people
hydroelectric power.
Yes,
I agree with you.
Yes, hydroelectric power out of view. But unfortunately, as at that time, what was even earmarked for a dam was just nothing much in terms of economic gulping of Nigeria's economy. But unfortunately, that has not been done. Now, this is the recipe for the disaster we've been seeing. Once that dam is opened, you see that almost the whole villages along the route of Benue is swept off. In that, from Yola, if you see the houses almost getting into the central part of the city, all submerged by water. You go to along Numan axis and what have you, all the farmlands that are producing rice and what have you, because they are famous in rice production, it's all be swept by the river. And almost all the towns are now coming up to Lokoja. See the disaster. So there's the need for inter-agency cooperation between the North Central Development Communication and the North East, with the assistance of the federal government, because what it will take to create a buffer dam now cannot only be handled by these development commissions, but is the federal government will be able to make sure that it has done what it needs to do. Because I'm happy, just recently, the government has been able to
approve 80 billion for allow dam.
Exactly. Thank you.
Now, some of the funding that we need to attend to these problems have also been tied to the ecological funds.
Yes.
I don't know if it's speaking to the provisions of the Constitution. Is it possible to have the ecological funds domesticated with the development commissions other than where it is with the states now? Because people question the use of the ecological funds. Can't it be channeled towards such a venture?
Right. You see, it's all about politics. And I doubt very much if the governors, knowing the way they are trying to make sure that they get a lot of resources, will agree to the ecological funds, going directly to the
Development Commission.
Yes, but by way of articulation of principles and programs of the development commissions, it is also supposed to take care of ecological problems. It is supposed to take care of the ecological problems. It is there, in part, as part of the tools, working mechanism of this particular development commission. It is supposed to take care of
ecological problems. Flood being one of the problems.
Exactly, flood being one of them. But how far will the governors? But I think President Bola Tinubu, if he says he will do something, I think he might do it, because he has a commitment, he has a passion, and if he wants to do it, he will do it. Because if you look at this local government issue, direct funding to local government, you can see now that the central bank will be channeling money directly to the accounts of the local government.
But yet, even on that part, there's still the bureaucratic bottleneck of the local government having a direct account with the CBN. It's not been opened up until now.
No, it's because there are some lackluster performances in terms of provision of account details and what have you from the local governments. But I can tell you, sooner than later, they will be able to smoothen it. And if it does, it is a welcome development because it will help in taking care of developmental structures in terms of grassroots mobilization. Formerly, before now, in the days gone by, especially when we were young, local government were really functioning. You see, they will do all these small roads, do bridges, culverts and bridges and what have you. Now, if these monies have gone to local government, and if the local government chairman or whatever will be able to sit down to articulate their position on what they need to do to the people, it's going to help a lot because it will bring governance closer to the people. It will also provide social infrastructure, employment opportunities to the youth, because if you see now, even in states, state government don't employ. Despite the monies that they get, they don't employ. That's why today everybody is rushing to Abuja.
Looking for federal jobs.
Looking for federal jobs, which are not there. The federal government cannot employ all Nigerians. It needs to trickle down. Any local government, that is what it all should be able to employ people as it used to be, sanitary inspectors, people that are manual laborers. So it will trickle down. At least the economy will go and reach to the common man. If the chairman has resources, people that are coming always, they will come to his office to say, look, we have this problem in this area, we have this problem. He will promise and he will do it because the funds will be monitored. Let them not think that if the funds goes to them, it is their personal estate or inheritance, where they can just go and do whatever they like with the money. No.
Now we have a little less than 5 minutes to wrap up this conversation. Yeah. We've talked largely about the agenda setting for the North Central Development Commission, our hopes and aspirations for it. But in the overarching concept of restructuring, does this cut it as part of the restructuring you as an individual is hoping that Nigeria can tow to engender grassroots development?
Yes. Well, to me, this is a welcome development. Whether you call it restructuring or whatever it is, it's a welcome development because it brings governance or government closer to the people. It also adds value to this government in terms of provision of social infrastructure, road networks, opening, the zones to the vagaries of agriculture, health facilities, looking at provision of water, education, transportation. Look, the commission has a lot to do. Especially, I know the Northeast Development Commission, where I come from. They've been doing a lot. I'm telling you, they have been doing a lot, and I really commend them for doing a good job. But they have to be monitored too. Because as a zone, if the Development Commission, some of these governors will also just relax to think that, well, we have a Development Commission and they're giving money, so they're supposed to do everything for us. No, they should be elastic. Anywhere the Development Commission does anything, it should put its own emblem. This road
was done by them.
Yes, this road, just like PTF before. This road has been commissioned or has been built, done by PTF. If they have schools, this is done by not this development company. Anywhere they do, let them write their this, so that any governor will come and commandeer or come and bring people to come and commission a road that he has not done. That
but Mr. Modibbo, sir, this issue of money will continue to be an issue. We see where the tax sharing is also being a conversation on what states are getting and how the equity is being discussed.
Yes.
Do you have any concern that when it comes to the commissions, the Northeast, for example, might be looking at the North Central and saying they're getting a little bit more than us, and those conversations on equity will come back again?
No. You see, let me tell you, each zone has its own peculiarities. Each zone has its own peculiarities. You will agree with me that what is happening in the South might be completely different from North Central, Northeast, or Southwest, or Southeast. Every zone has its own potentials. It is not going to be I doubt very much if it's going to be a uniform applicable this thing. Although they said about 2 point something trillion. I know the government in its wisdom should be able to look dispassionately at areas of intervention, because this is an interventionist approach to governance, of which an agency, this agency is supposed to work hand in hand with the federal government in looking at some of the peculiarities of the zones with a view to developing them. Now, cultivation of land in the North Central might not be as expensive as cultivation of land in the South because of the swampy nature of the area and what have you. So, and ecologically, if you look at the issue of road networks, the issue of building houses, what it will take in the South might be different from the Northeast or North Central. So therefore, definitely, the government in its wisdom that has been able to bring up these development commissions will be able to know some of the interesting or some of the issues, all-encompassing issues that these zones need for propelling the wheel of progress and also reaching to the doorsteps of the common man. So I think there should be equity and good conscience where we find, based on peculiarities of the areas, monies are dispensed towards. So I do not expect that it's going to be a uniform approach where one zone will get 100 million, the other one will also get 100 million. No. I think in interest of fairness and inclusivity, they should get resources based on their demands and dynamics of what confronts the zones.
Well, I must thank you, Mr. Ibrahim Modibbo, for taking our time to discuss this issue with me on the program this morning. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. This is, it's Dr. Ibrahim Modibbo.
Doctor, rather.
Yes.
Corrected. Dr. Ibrahim Modibbo,
yes,
holds a PhD, a seasoned journalist, a scholar, and a public affairs commentator.
Thank you.
In his opinion, the North Central Development Commission, a welcome idea which President Bola Tinubu would be remembered for. But away from the commission as an overarching agency, he has talked about the 6 states and the FCT that make up the commission, highlighting their challenges, key areas of strengths, and potentials for growth. He has also hoped that the youths will be included in governance and employment opportunities would come from the commissions. But he says, as it concerns disbursements, that their key peculiarities should inform the federal government's disbursements of funds to them, and he believes that with equity and inclusivity, the commission will deliver on its mandates, much like the Northeast has been doing, a region which he comes from, and applauds them for doing so. Well, this conversation is available for you to rewatch it on our YouTube channel. But this is as much as time will permit for us on our current affairs driven segment of the program. We'll take a break, and when we return, it will be time for ADBN Sports at 10. Do all to stay with us.